What do you get when you mix baseball and football?
Base footballs?
No. This is Bunts and Bruises. If it's the weekly hot topics in sports, we're talking about it.
We're talking about it.
And we're having fun. Your home for sports and entertainment. We're the best at rolling with the punches. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This is Bunts and Bruises. And here's your host, Bars.
I don't even know where to start tonight. I just don't. We had a whole schedule set up, and it got blown up. It was welcome back. I know it's been a while, guys. You know, lockout and then NFL offseason. I'm not the biggest college guy. I'd look into some prospects, though. But either way, you know, had to take a little break. But regardless, we're back. And God, did we pick the day to get back here. I'm having special guests today. A friend of the show, Brizzy Boy, No Tipper Sports. Follow him. But, man, it's insane. We were going to talk baseball, free agents. We were going to talk to Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield. But forget that. This all blows this out of the water. I'm going to go ahead and bring them in right now. Ant, how you doing today, bud?
Doing great.
Man, I don't even know where to start because I know you were pulling in home as I texted you what just happened minutes before now we got on air. Just to tell the good folks at home. Blockbuster trade happened. Packers are trading Pro Bowl wide receiver Davante Adams to the Las Vegas Raiders for 2 prime 2022 picks.
Whatever that
is. A supposed player. It's definitely a first. That's hands down it's a first.
Oh, I did not know that there's also a player in the deal too. I mean, it doesn't make a difference, but
yeah. Rap just tweeted as well. This info is coming in, so forgive me if it's coming in a little shaky because it's literally coming in second by second. Rap tweeted that, yes, there is a player involved. You guys assume the picks are going to be a first and a second. This is all 2022, once again. So it's a first and a second this year or a first and a third this year. And whatever you got, I guess they threw a wide receiver in there, right? You got to assume they threw in
something.
What's my boy? Hunter Renfrow. I could see him becoming a Packer. That's a guy that Aaron Rodgers would like.
Yeah, it's a Rodgers guy.
And they extended Davante Adams immediately. There was no time in between. He got extended for 5 years, $141.25 million. He averages $28.25 million per year. And he's now the highest paid wide receiver. You got to assume this all happened because the Jaguars decided to make Christian Kirk like top 3 signed wide receiver. It makes no sense. We're not even going to talk about that. That's a whole other episode, as I always say.
Real quick, all I know is that Kenny Golladay contract looks a lot nicer after that Kirk contract.
I mean, yeah, hell yeah. I mean, after this year, I don't know.
It makes me feel a little bit better.
It makes me feel better, I guess. I don't know, not really, but
just a little bit.
Man, what are your immediate thoughts? Let's stop messing around here. What are your immediate thoughts of this trade? The moment I texted you this, you know, you had some time to think about it. Let me hear it.
I love it for the Raiders. I don't like it for the Packers. I mean, like, if you're a Packers fan right now, how are you feeling? Like, okay, you got Aaron Rodgers back. You know, he's making like $50 million per for the next 4 years. So now you don't have his number one target, his right-hand man. Like, I don't like it. I don't see them going. I'm pretty sure they're like capped out. So I don't see the flexibility moving forward. I know, just going by my gut right now, and if I'm right, we could rewind the clip. We could air this, but I'm just going to say, you know, Rodgers is going to be there for maybe a year. I think he just wanted to sign that contract, lock it in as soon as possible, and maybe explore his options after the season. As for the Raiders, first of all, I was absolutely in love with the Chandler Jones signing. It was like the most slept-on signing of the season. That's one of the best pass rushers in the league. To have him with Crosby, woo. But then
Crosby, actually, they just waived him yesterday. I think it was cap hit.
All right then.
But still, though, Chandler Jones, right. That's a bad man.
That is
bad.
But
as I'm reading these tweets that are coming in, let's just get into Rodgers' feelings. You gotta assume he's not happy, but according to Rappaport, he knew when he signed the contract that Devontae Adams was never gonna be a Packer again. It says situation was too far, something had to give. When Adams informed Green Bay he wasn't playing on the tag, that's when talks fired up. So, yeah, he probably was mad, but that's why you guys assume he took the most money because he said, damn, if I ain't going to have my number one man, I got to get paid at least. And honestly, I've said this multiple times. I think Aaron Rodgers just loves the drama. He wants us to be on the edge of our feet every single year, man. He just loves the spotlight on him because I'm pretty sure his contract's negotiated where every year he could basically decide if he wants to get traded or not. They made it some way flexible like that.
Wow.
But essentially, this is wild, man. I gotta agree with you. It's a great trade for the Raiders. You gotta assume they made this trade just to keep up with everyone now that the AFC West is AFC West is about to be the craziest division this year, man.
Stacked.
I will be so disappointed if it's not how the NFC West was times 2 because the talent on each team, the quarterbacks, Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in the division, and that's saying something, bro. He's a top 10 quarterback. He's still a good. I would take Derek Carr in a heartbeat on the Giants, man.
Oh, sign me up.
It's ridiculous, but it's like, and now Darren Waller and Devontae Adams, man. That's just
exactly that. Like, that's the number one thing is I feel like he really hasn't had a number one option his pretty much whole career. I mean, you could say maybe Cooper early on, but even Cooper's, he's like a borderline one to me.
He got cut by Dallas. Simple as that. He was
exactly
too expensive. They couldn't pay him to be a one.
You probably have the best receiver in football now on your team. They tried to do this with Antonio Bryant, but we all know how that played out. So when I just look at it, Waller. I love Waller. Everybody loves Waller. You got Waller. Renfro really stepped up. He took a nice little step this past year, and then you pair him with Adams. I mean, that offense is going to be explosive. I mean, it really is. Like he threw for like 4,500 plus last year with no Devontae Adams and no Waller for like half the season. So I mean,
we could pull it up.
Raiders are looking good.
Raiders are looking great. And the number one main addition we forgot to mention is their new head coach, Josh McDaniels. See, he's not going anywhere this time. He's staying. Now he got the number one wide receiver in all football. Derek Carr almost had 5,000 yards last year. He had 4,800, and he had 14 interceptions.
Renfro was his number one.
23 touchdowns. You like to see that number up. That number is going to go up by at least 10 now. You got Devontae Adams on your squad. It's just, man, I could see why the Packers did it, though. If you knew Devontae Adams wasn't coming back, you make Aaron Rodgers happy. You're going to trade him if he's not playing on the tag. The tag was their Hail Mary right there. They said, look, we'll pay you the average, whatever it is. You could dip out next year if you want, but you can't blame Devontae Adams for not taking the tag because it's just he needs to get paid. He hasn't gotten his superstar contract yet, and he finally did at $28.25 million per year. You guys assume almost half of that's guaranteed, but still, it's a great deal. No matter what.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how much of it's really guaranteed. I mean, just off the top, I would say it's got to be close to 100.
At least somewhere up there. It has to be 90 at minimum. Yeah. So far, there's been no other tweets to be breaking any news on it. But you guys assume if it's 2 prime picks, we're assuming it's the first. Where the Raiders are picking somewhere in the
100%. There's
going to be great players still in that first round, and you got to assume they're going to take a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers because this is a deep wide receiver draft. I'm not familiar with all the names, but it is a known fact that wide receiver, aside from offensive linemen, that is the deepest part of this entire draft is the wide receiver position. So, I mean. And also, they got the player. Hopefully, it's a good player. If they
it's got to be a contributor. I mean, for when you're trading Devontae Adams, when you're getting a player back, he's gonna contribute. Like no matter what, I don't care if it's the punter, the long snapper. He's contributing on this roster next year.
But yeah, it's a guaranteed starter, hands down guaranteed starter. Hopefully, it's an offensive weapon. If not, it's a defensive weapon to make up for all the pieces that they are ending up losing. Man, it's just the AFC West is going to be explosive. I don't know any other way to put it.
Yeah,
you look at Devontae Adams, who is just a wide receiver, like you said, Derek Carr never had. And Derek Carr has been the king of the fourth quarter whenever it came to that. So now you're able to keep up with all the other number one wide receivers in the AFC West. Now, actually, it's looking like the Broncos all of a sudden, even though they got the better quarterback, their wide receiver core isn't looking as great as it once did because now your rivals are matching you. You got Mike Williams, who matched up his contract earlier this week, and he's back in San Diego. So San Diego is going to be explosive still with him and
Los
Keenan Allen.
Angeles. Los Angeles.
You know, man, they should have never left. They should have never left.
I agree.
And then, Kansas City's Kansas City, man. So this was almost a move they had to make because there wasn't going to be one guy who could change that entire defense to keep up with the rest of the AFC West. But there was that one guy to change the entire offense, and that's Devontae Adams. So this whole offense already was looking great without a true number one wide receiver. You got to hope they sent over Bryant Edwards to the freaking Packers because that man does
That's
nothing.
what I'm thinking. I know. That's what I'm thinking.
But, man, it's just that's all we got right now. There hasn't been any other updates on this. It's insane, man. Devontae Adams, he's in the black and silver right now. But
he's gonna look great in black and silver. I just picture it right now, scoring tutties left and right. It's gonna look beautiful.
It's gonna look great. But someone who isn't gonna end up in Brown, because I was thinking he was gonna end up on the Browns, unfortunately, is Mr. Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played in a year due to all the allegations on him. He just passed I'm not even going to get into the legal term and get tied up here, but he did pass some kind of trial, which makes it look more like he's going to end up playing at some point, if not this year, in the beginning of this year, at some point this year, he should end up playing. And he told, unfortunately, the Browns, out of the 4 teams he had, the rest is the New Orleans Saints, the Carolina Panthers, and the Atlanta Falcons, who I don't know how they're going to get the cap for that, but hey, they're in it somehow. And out of all that, I thought it was a done thing because while those rumors were that he stopped and visited Cleveland on Tuesday, Baker Mayfield thought also it was a sure thing, and he ended up tweeting basically a goodbye tweet, Instagram, whatever. Thank you for the good times, Cleveland, yada, 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 yada. Baker being emotional as always. What are your thoughts, man, on just this whole situation? Because Baker's basically saying he's not going to play for Cleveland this year, and he thinks it's in the best interest that he gets traded. So you have all this drama happening, and you're not even getting the guy you needed to get.
I mean, I just think I blame both of them, though. Like, I don't fully just blame Mayfield. I think the Browns are somewhat responsible, too. They're obviously looking to move on, I guess, behind the scenes in, like, a sneaky way. He got wind of it. He doesn't feel appreciated. I get that. But at the same time, it's like, Baker, you're under contract. I mean, you man up, see what happens. It's not like they made the trade. They just had a little meeting and whatnot. I feel like he could have handled it a lot better. But at the same time, I definitely think his days are going to be numbered in Cleveland. I think they're going to have to move on. I know they said that they're not going to grant his request as of right now. But I mean, if Mayfield really doesn't want to play, and knowing how emotional Mayfield has been throughout his career, I definitely think he's going to be prideful, and he's going to not. I don't believe he's going to intend to play unless he gets dealt.
I think he's going to end up getting dealt at some point. It feels like this relationship's just completely trashed. But when you really look at it, I mean, is Baker being Baker, man, because he thinks he's as good as Deshaun Watson. And I'm sorry, my friend, you're just not. As simple as that. When Deshaun Watson's on the field, he's a top 5 player in the league. Not at his position. He's a top 5 player in the league. He was bringing the Houston Texans winning the division every year, and then they could have won a game, but it was all right. Not only that, but he's on a team-friendly contract essentially at this point. Yep. He's his cap hit this year is $35 million, and then it becomes $20 million, and then 32, but there's an out in 2024, so he's going to end up asking for more money at that point. But it's a team-friendly contract either way, and nowadays, because people are ending up with $40 million and whatnot. It's Baker, and before the show started, there was rumors that Seattle did have interest in Baker, so maybe Baker does. I think Baker gets traded. I just don't see how it happens. Just the question is, you got to think Cleveland fans are freaking out right now because you didn't get the top 5 quarterback.
No.
Your starting quarterback doesn't want to play for you anymore. And now it's becoming a players' league, almost like the NBA, where
Oh.
these players, if they don't want to play and demand a trade, they'll not play and take the trade. And they'll end up sitting out too. Nowadays, players have no issue sitting out for a year because they're just built different nowadays, man. They trade throughout everything. Like them sitting a year is probably better because they're getting a year to rest up compared to these giant 350 guys that are getting tackled now.
Unless you're Le'Veon Bell.
Unless you're Le'Veon Bell, where he partied a little too hard.
You just get worse somehow, and like your age 26 season retired, you just get worse somehow. But
if you look at the math, essentially he ended up losing money too for sitting out.
Yeah, horrible decision.
But man, it's just like you got to wonder where Deshaun Watson's going to end up now because it felt like a sure thing when Baker sent that tweet out or whatever.
Yeah,
maybe that was what ruined it. What do you think? Because the remaining 3 is the Atlanta Falcons, New Orleans Saints, and the Carolina Panthers. Where do you think Deshaun essentially ends up? Because essentially he these trades. The Texans accepted trades from all of these teams. It's now Watson picking where he wants to go.
Because he has a no trade clause, correct?
Correct. So it's
Gotcha.
Wherever he decides to go, essentially, is where he's going to end up. So where do you think he ends up?
Gut feeling. Okay, just like I don't know. Like obviously, if they're a potential destination for him, they obviously have the cap and can make it work somehow. I don't understand how they have the cap, but I'll just say it. I think he ends up with the Saints. Once again, I don't know how, but that's just what my gut is. But I'm pretty sure they're like capped out for the next like 5 years. So I literally don't understand how they make it work.
The cap doesn't exist, man.
I know it doesn't. After the Rams just signed Robinson for like 3 years, $55 million, I was like, where are they getting this money? And then we have the Giants who I don't even want to get into it. All right, but I don't want to get into it. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Saints gut feeling, but I'm also seeing some people, I don't know how accurate these sources are, random Twitter sources with like 20K followers and whatnot, saying that he really likes the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking.
That would be interesting because where does Matt Ryan go now? Well, it's musical chairs.
Here's my question.
Quarterbacks now.
Does this end up becoming like one of the first ever, or whenever the last one was, which I think it was like 1990 or something like that, 3-team trade in the NFL?
Oh, I love it.
You gotta something like that has to happen for Matt Ryan to get off the books because someone has to take his whole salary. So
I want to see
a dead cap for like $30 million.
Oh my god! But he can still ball though. Like Matt Ryan
can still ball 100%.
Ball.
Matt Ryan is one of the most underrated quarterbacks of all time. He just never had a good team. And the one year he did have a good team, they ended up in the Super Bowl. It wasn't his fault that they wanted to keep throwing instead of running it. But
Shanahan.
My initial thoughts is he ends up actually in Atlanta. I've been seeing the same thing as you. I've been hearing from a couple radio shows here and there that they think he's going to end up in Atlanta too. And the main reason is with everything going on, he's going to want to end up somewhere, one, close to home, and two, where it feels like Atlanta's really the ones who want him more than anything. And you can really tell that with, one, their cap situation, and two, they're in no position to be making a Deshaun Watson trade. But something tells me they are going to give way more than they should, and Deshaun Watson's basically getting up in the same situation, but he's going to be in Atlanta now instead of Texans.
Yeah.
And he known the owner, Arthur Burns, I think his name is.
Blank. Yeah,
Blank.
yeah.
Thank you.
Arthur Blank, yeah.
So Arthur Blank, he's known him since he was a kid. So it's, with everything going on outside of football, he's definitely going to want to be somewhere where, one, I don't want to say looked at as a hero, but he's not going to be looked down upon and judged, because if he goes to other places where he's not welcomed home, like he's coming home, it's going to be the first time he throws an interception. That's it. He's the worst person in the world. Why we do this trade.
Yeah, yeah.
So you got to assume, in my mind at least, Atlanta's number one. And I'm with you. I'm flip-flop from you. I have Saints as 2 because they're somehow going to figure it out. And ideally, they're the best out of just
fit. Yeah, Michael Thomas. Alvin, I just instant contenders again, NFC.
Exactly.
For years to come.
And the Panthers, it's like, okay, they want him. They really want him. The
Yeah, I
only reason
know.
I think the Panthers might end up because they offer a very pretty package. Like they
Yeah,
want him.
Matt Rule wants his quarterback. He's not playing.
Exactly. And I mean, you gotta assume Sam Darnold's part of that trade or something, but it's I don't know, man. It's kind of up in the air right now. Like it's a crazy situation, and I'm wondering where Baker ends up as well, man, because I hope he doesn't play for the Browns. It feels like at this moment it's just devastating, or maybe he's just, trying to be a slick way of getting a contract extension because he is due next year. So
Very, very slick way.
I mean, that, like I said, man, it's a players' league. It's the way you gotta do it now. But speaking of players' league, let's go to the complete opposite of the players' league now. We're gonna talk next week more NFL. That's really it for the hot news this week. It's just too much going on. There's a bunch of free agents being signed left and right. There's some free agents where, like Randy Gregory and who else was it? Zadavius Smith. Both of them were like, yeah, we're going to sign with one to the it's Randy Gregory re-signed with the Cowboys and Zadarius Smith signed with the Ravens. Then all of a sudden it was, nope. They both switched up when it was time to sign. And now Gregory is on Denver, and I'm not sure where Smith is at right now. But there's news left and right, man. We're going to start coming back. We're coming back strong next week.
Yes,
but the lockout is finally over. It took 90-something days, 99 days, I believe it was, and it is finally over. We have baseball coming back April 17th, I believe.
April 7th.
April 7th, even better. There was just so much going on, man. There is so many numbers on my screen right now. I'm reading tweets trying to figure
March
out
Madness, everything's crazy.
It's just been an overload today, man. My bracket's looking good, though. Let me
chaos.
tell you.
NFL free agency, MLB free agency, MLB lockout, March Madness, NBA, Kyrie's dropping 60.
Literally.
It's crazy out here.
And it's ironic because this is usually the dead time of sports, too, especially with a baseball lockout. But now we're back, baby.
Let's go.
So we had some hot free agents being signed. It didn't really come in the wave that everyone thought it was going to come in due to, after we got signed, you were expecting teams to build off. But you really kind of got that feeling that owners and GMs were waiting because they didn't want to be the first guy to sign someone and end up overpaying a contract. You want someone else to dip their foot in the water first. And some of these contracts were looking great. Like, for example, this morning I woke up. I got the alert at midnight. I was already passed out. Freddie Freeman is now on the L.A. Dodgers. Hang on, you hear that? That's silence in the Bronx because everyone is heartbroken. Freddie Freeman is an L.A. Dodger. I'm not even happy about that myself, to be honest, because that's a huge threat. But aside from that to me personally was one of the best contracts. So, Ant, I want to ask you, out of this entire offseason, even before the lockout, what are your top 3 signings so far in this offseason for the MLB?
Ooh, top 3. Trades included or
trades included? Actually, yeah. It's been wild out there. There's been trades left and right too. Matt Olson is on the Braves now, right?
Love that trade.
I don't even know. Toronto.
Speaking of the MMM boys on Oakland, I love the match. I mean, as a Yankee fan, I hate it, but as a baseball fan, Matt Chapman to Toronto. They're just adding to that core. They have money to spend. They're willing to spend it. They ramped up that rebuild real quick. As a Yankee fan, I'm getting a little concerned out here. They just improved their defense. Their hitting is already key. Like, it's crazy to me because I feel like they lost Robbie Ray, who just won the Cy Young, by the way, and Marcus Simeone, he had to finish second or third in the MVP, I believe third. I think
second, actually.
And I think I think they got better as a team. And then when you look at Atlanta, I love what Atlanta did. Okay, I get it. You lost Freeman. That was like your captain, your face of the franchise. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But you just won a World Series. He's 32 going on 33, I believe. Like I said, face of the franchise, but when you replace him with Matt Olson, who's not that much he's like
Gold Glove winner.
Freeman's here. Olson's right, like it's close.
It's close.
So I feel like that's the great replacement to replace their franchise captain. He's a quiet guy. He's gonna put his head down and just play baseball. He's 28 years old. He's at 8 years, 160. Freeman got 6 years, 160. So you got him for a little bit cheaper, and he's younger. I just love it. And then you just add him with that core, Ronald Acuna. You got that nice core going. I love it. And then I love the Freeman signing. I really love it. As a Yankee fan, it actually bothers me that the Dodgers seem like they just get every big name guy out there nowadays.
That's why you need a cap in baseball, man. I know no one wants it, but like
it's ridiculous.
And then that's why the lockout was so long, because just to get a little bit into it, for those who don't know, it wasn't really the owners versus the players. It was like the players and 5 of the owners, like the Yankees, Steve Cohen, the Dodgers, people who have money essentially, and the rest of the league. And it was all the small market teams being cheap because people just don't want to spend money on players. They rather have their team on the lowest possible, payroll ever. And you got one player essentially signed. Let's go with not even Freddie Freeman, the highest contract signed this year. Let's go with Corey Seager. Corey Seager's 1 year is almost half of the payroll for some of these teams, which is insane, such as like a Kansas City or a Pittsburgh. They pay almost bare minimum. There needs to be a minimum in baseball to avoid that, because at that point, why even have these small market teams, man? Just take them out. Forget about them. You could lose like 6 teams in the league easy. No one will cry about it. But to this Freddie Freeman deal, man, it is insane to me because you're essentially getting Freddie Freeman for, I think it's $27 million per year. I personally would have paid him $30+ million a year because he is that good. Yes, he is 32, but dude, it's literally now with the universal DH as well. You're not worried about those back of the years of that contract.
Exactly.
You're paying him for the now. And
he's a Gold Glove from like 2 years ago, so it's not like he could only hit. He's handsome. Everything about Freddie Freeman's perfect. Just pay the guy.
Here's the thing, too, man. Here's why I think the Yankees really should have gone for him, too, because people forget this. Freddie Freeman played third base a couple of years ago. I forgot who was the Braves third baseman. I think it was Josh Donaldson at that point. He got injured, and Freddie Freeman ended up going third, and they threw someone at first. And I mean, for the Yankees, if I was them, we're going to get into the worst contract soon. I got a lot of talk about your Yankees over there. But I would have signed Freddie Freeman, threw him at third, and then put Anthony Rizzo at first, because boom, you got both corners instead of just having Anthony Rizzo there and now Josh Donaldson. But other than this Freddie Freeman trade, the other 2 contracts I actually have as my top 3 is I have Chris Bassett, the trade from the Oakland A's to my New York Mets.
Very good.
No, it's not just because it's the Mets. It's because actually we gave up 2 minor league pitchers who they were pretty good. Nothing crazy, though. The main thing about this is I even actually had a conversation with Chris Carlin. Ended up calling his show, and I asked, Chris, I love that we got DeGrom. I love that we got Max, but after that, what do we got? Taijuan Walker, he was good last year, but he ended up falling off a little bit towards the end of the season.
Is he back?
He's back next year, yes. So it's not a bad third, but he's way better at my fourth, Carlos Carrasco, am I going to have him? That guy's hurt every year.
God,
exactly.
God.
So you're looking at that back end of the rotation. It's not looking pretty at all. But now with this trade, we are looking so much better at the rotation. And we also signed Adam Ottavino. So it's just
very good.
We added on more and more and more, and I just love having money. Simple as that, man. I understand how your childhood was. It's a great time over here.
Yeah, it was.
But let's and my third one is Marcus Simeone, because like you said, man, if you ever listen to the show, I'm a huge Marcus Simeone fan. Simple as that.
Very good player.
But he also got signed for, personally, I think, a great contract.
Me too. 175, I want to say.
Exactly, yes, which ends up being $23 million per year. And that's honestly that's an underpayment, because yes, he's a little up there in age, but this guy's he's like fine wine, man. He's been getting better and better.
One of those guys, exactly. I think he's just going to age pretty well. And even in his last 3 years of his contract, he'll be like 36, 37, 38. He should be able to rake by then, as long as everybody has a DH now. I just feel like all those guys, they're just all fine now. Like the Nelson Cruzes of the world. Nelson Cruz might play 25 more years, honestly, the way he's playing. So
I'm going to still draft him in fantasy too when he in those 25 years.
Real quick, real quick. Max Scherzer, I know it was like a lot of money and whatnot. I'm pretty sure he makes more money by himself more than like 3 teams, which is a problem that we were just referring about. But I love that signing because I just feel like DeGrom, you never know. He's got his health problems. So I feel like even if he goes out, now you have Max. I like him so much, I'm going to call him Max. Now you have Max to just handle the whole rotation, put everything on his back, and you're comfortable with that. And then you have Chris Bassett as your number 2 and Walker as your number 3. You can make trades and whatnot. So I just love it. And then if DeGrom stays healthy and Max is healthy, now I just feel like you could win a World Series with those two. I mean, I love that signing. That's actually probably my number 1 free agency signing of the year with impact, because I just feel like if DeGrom's healthy and Max is healthy, that's the best. That's the best duo, 1-2 probably that I can remember since like Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling.
I mean, bro, it's somewhere up there, and that this it might go down depending on the year both of them have as the greatest duo of all time. You know, literally, you have 2 of the best pitchers the game has ever seen. I've talked about this Max Scherzer deal plenty. I'm sure we got 3 hours worth of audio of me just talking about it, bro. Of course, I'm the happiest out there for this trade, but that's the Max Scherzer is number 1 signing for the Mets, and this trade was number 2 in all offseason moves for me because we needed that. Our rotation is starting to look like, I don't want to toot our own horn, but it's looking like our 2015 rotation, just with a little more veterans instead of the young bloods.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm sorry, man. As I said, if you listen really closely, you might hear a pin drop in the Bronx because it is awfully quiet there. The biggest move you guys have made has been Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela, your third baseman, for Josh Donaldson, Isaiah, I'm not even going to try, IKF.
Yeah, just call him that.
Who is now a shortstop, and another couple minor leaguers, I believe it was. How do you feel about this trade, man? Because if I'm being honest, I feel like you guys basically got nothing here. Josh Donaldson, while yes, he's an upgrade at third base, he's not that much more of an upgrade than Gio. And essentially, you just got another guy who bats 240, gets 100-plus strikeouts. Yes, he hits 26 home runs, but that's not what you need in this lineup. You need someone who's hitting 270, 280 at a minimum, getting on base. You need a guy who plays small ball. And I'll give you that you got the shortstop because it's now you can move Glaber to second, DJ LeMahieu and Rizzo can platoon first, or you throw LeMahieu wherever you need him to be. Hopefully he returns to that MVP year. I believe he's going to play closer to that than he did play to this year. This year was a little off year for him. Even if you look at his Colorado stats, he's an average hitter, and he was hitting way below his average. But other than that, man, it's to me I feel like this trade was more to get rid of Gary Sanchez, where you could have ended up getting more for Gary Sanchez than what you did. I feel like, honestly, with this trade, your team got – I don't know if I'm being a hater, man. You tell me if I'm being a hater. I think your team got slightly a little worse with this trade.
I mean, it's not a bad take, if they did get better, it's probably marginally. And truthfully, I've tried to not really form an opinion yet. I've tried to give it a few days. At first, I hated it. But it's not it's just, look, I feel like the American League East is so good. It's by far the best division in baseball. You might have 4 teams win 95 plus games. Everybody's trying to win except the Orioles. So I mean, so I see what Toronto's doing. The Red Sox have a good core. Alex Cora is a great coach. They're gonna be fine. Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay. They somehow get better every year. I don't know how, but they just do. So I look at so when I see that, and I just look at all the holes the Yankees have, including pitching, that somehow nobody talks about the lack of pitching on that. They have no pitching. It's Garrett Cole and nobody. It's nobody.
It's
scary. Like Jordan Montgomery. It's like I don't.
It's either him or Severino's year 2, and you don't even know what you're getting and you from
can't
Severino.
Even count on that exactly. So it's just, and then you have Chapman who blows. Just I could do this all day and voice my frustration with what we've been doing, but on that trade alone, I think they got a little better, but mostly on defense, because Gary Sanchez was an absolute disaster behind the plate. So the fact that you just get rid of him for like 100 plus games behind the plate, light years better at catcher defensively. Third baseman, I think Gio's top 5 gloves at third. Analytically, he's not that good. I think when they evaluate that, they look at that and they see that Gio's WAR was like .6, if I'm not mistaken, offensively and defensively. Josh Donaldson's was like 3.8. So they look at it like that. And Isaiah Kindler, I believe his WAR was 3.5. And Gary Sanchez's was like 0.2. So they just look at it like that, like, okay, we're going to get better defensively. Josh Donaldson's an upgrade with the bat over Gio, but he's got the calf. He's always hurt with his calves.
See,
Also,
that's my main issue with this trade too, is because
too.
you sign a guy who he's guaranteed he's going to miss at least 30 games. Minimum,
I agree.
At a minimum 30
and
games.
I'd be so happy if he only missed 30 games.
Hey, I was about to say that's closer to like 40, 50 games he's actually going to miss.
100%.
So it's really
with Judge and with Stanton, you have those question marks already. So it's like you're kind of adding a guy.
Exactly.
But the only thing that I could possibly think of that they're kind of okay with maybe him getting hurt is they currently do have LeMahieu actually doesn't have a position right now. Do have Rizzo at first, Glaber at second, Isaiah Kindler at short, and Josh at third. So my thing is they're probably thinking, okay, he will miss 30, 40 plus games, but then we'll slide LeMahieu over there at third. But that's just baseball doesn't work like that. Like the season's too long. Like you can't have it just planned out. Like, okay, he's gonna get hurt for 20 games. Like, no, you're gonna have injuries that you never even thought were possible, and you're gonna have to scramble and call up guys. Like this is how this league works. So if they're just counting on like that, like I'm just scared this is all they're gonna do. Like if they're just gonna run it back pretty much and stay put and just ship off Gary and Gio and add Josh and Isaiah and this catcher who hits like 120, which is I could probably hit 120. So it's just like that alone scares me. I'm sure they're not done. I wanted Freeman or Matt Olson extremely badly. So the fact that it's looking like we're gonna run it back with slight upgrades is very disappointing. So I totally understand how you feel, and I definitely don't disagree that we might have gotten a little worse, but I personally think we got marginally better, mostly on defense.
I mean, the only thing that is scary here is you said it earlier. That's everyone in the AL East is getting better, and you guys are getting slightly better, if not worse. Depending on who you are. Like it's so. And you guys you guys were struggling towards the end of the season to make sure you made it to the playoffs. So, you got to wonder what's going on, man. It's a little frustrating. But what's even more frustrating is a different third baseman who got signed this year. Third baseman, outfielder, either or. He plays both positions. You hated this deal. I definitely do not like this deal. I like the player, but I certainly do not think he is worth what he got paid. And that is Chris Bryant. And you know what? It's not even he's not worth what he got paid. It's who paid him more than anything.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It is Chris Bryant signing with the Colorado Rockies. Yes, he is going to Coors Field on a 7-year, $182 million deal, which averages to about $26 million per year. So for Chris Bryant, that's really not that bad. He's about that much of a player. Good for him. Yes, he got that contract what he wanted. He was really going for that long-term contract. Chris Bryant, you knew he was getting less than 6 years. 7 years was probably make the average go down a little bit, especially now with universal DH. Everyone, I'm sure you're going to see a lot more of these 7-8 year deals without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I just don't get it because one. They extended Trevor Story? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they extended Trevor Story. So you haven't extended your homegrown shortstop, who's a stud, by the way. Arguably better than Chris Bryant. Arguably. It depends who you look at it. Some people hate him, some people
got
love
speed.
I'm a fan of Trevor Story. I'm always a fan of a shortstop who can hit with power. But you guys assume they wanted to replace a third baseman who was homegrown and way, way better in Nolan Arenado. What are you doing over there? And
And they just
what do you
lost
think?
John Gray, who's
And
their number one pitching guy to, I believe, Texas.
yep.
I mean, I mean, like, what are they doing? Like, I understand. If I'm not mistaken, I'm like 95% sure they got a new GM. So the GM now is not the same GM that traded. Um, why am I having a
Nolan
blank?
Arenado.
Yes. That was money clearing trade right there, but even with the new GM, it's like what you're not even signing Trevor Story. It's like, okay, you have Chris Bryant. I literally can't name you. Who is it? Chris Bryant, Charlie Blackmon, and who I don't know who's on the
And
team.
Charlie Blackmon is hanging on by a thread,
Seriously,
bro. You're finally seeing the man who looked like he could do it all and just never stop. You're seeing just a little decline, man. And you hate to see that because I love Charlie Blackmon. He's one of those guys who he's just a ball
original,
player.
exactly.
Just simple as that. He loves playing ball. And he's gonna still be great. Don't get me wrong.
He's a good player,
not gonna
solid
be
player.
Charlie Blackmon, But you're right, man. They have no one. They literally have no one.
Unless he's gonna pitch, close, play first, second, third, short, left, right, and center, then you're looking good. But I just
and even then you're looking iffy.
Yeah, seriously. Even then, you're probably winning 80 games. But like, I've never met a Colorado Rockies fan in my entire lifetime. I wish I knew one because I would love to hear their take on. Like, are you happy? Are you sad? Are you gonna watch a game? You brought this up yesterday? You texted me last night and said that you think they did it strictly to sell tickets. It's got to be the reason because what else?
Literally,
What else? It's not like you're like a piece or two away and you give the I mean, he's old now. He's not old, but he's like 30, 31. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? It's not like you're a piece or two away. It's like you're starting a rebuild and you just gave a 31-year-old Chris Bryant $182 million to play baseball for your team that has no other good baseball players. I just don't get it.
I mean, unless they did this move for the extended playoffs, because aren't they? They added 2 more teams to the playoffs, I believe. That's not this year, right? Or is it this year? It's next year.
I believe it's next year.
Okay, so so it's next year. So you give them the 7-year deal, and if not, I mean, you got some young talent. It's not really anything crazy, You got Ryan McMahon.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah,
he's decent
right.
though. He's like a poor man's Max Muncy. He's not all that really. He strikes out more than you'd like. And then CJ Cron, there's not much on this roster, man. He doesn't make it that much better. So
it's gonna be hilarious.
It has to be for tickets.
It's gonna be hilarious when the Rockies win the World Series this year and we rewind this tape and we're just killing them and they go like 120 and 40 next year.
Oh man, it's Chris Bryant was the missing MVP year, World Series MVP. I could see it, man. But you know what? As we said, good for Chris Bryant because he's not a bad player at all. I was hoping the Mets signed him, but I know realistically the Mets.
I thought the Mets were going to sign him actually. Well, before free agency signed up, once it started and they got Marte and everyone, I was like, it's probably over for that.
Well, no, I thought we were still going to get him after, even when the lockout ended. I thought we were in the running, but obviously he wanted a longer contract with money than a little longer than Steve Cohen probably wanted to go. He's probably like, I'm already tied up, bro. Sorry. Yeah. And Chris Bryant, he's a good player. He's not a great player, That he might be one of those players where towards that back end of the 7-year, you'd be a little worried because he's been having some rough years lately. He's not looking like his MVP All-Star self.
Honestly, he was kind of really on the decline until this past year, if we're being honest.
And even this year,
What really helped him? It's not like the offensive numbers were like MVP Bryant from like 2015-16. Right. It's the fact that he became so versatile on defense. He plays, if I'm not mistaken, first, third, right, center, and left. So
he's like I'm pretty sure he could play second too if they really wanted him.
So that's where a lot of his value, honestly, really comes into play.
Yeah, man. I mean, you gotta be glad that he did that because he came into the league as a third baseman. Then they realized he was good, not great with the glove there, so they threw him over to the outfield, and he was way better. Outfield's looking like his natural position, but hey, if he can play first too, then why not? And short, you said?
No, not short.
Either way, he's
not God.
Hey, man, you never know with these athletes these days, like I was saying. But, he's not batting 290, 280 anymore. He's batting more 260s. He's still hitting, though, about just this year he hit 25 home runs. And people say, I didn't get to watch San Francisco as much as I love taking a look at a couple of their games and talking about them. San Francisco, they were saying he's a major reason why they ended up making that postseason run as well, because yes, they were the number one team in the league, but he ended up adding just a little more to take him over that top.
Yeah, he did.
So good for Chris Bryant, man. Good player, good guy, it seems like. But he got a great contract. Unfortunately, my number 3 worst contract isn't for the team, it's for the player. For the team, it is a great contract. But my number 3 is Wander Franco signing his contract, and he got robbed. It is $182 million for 11 years. That is insane to me. With incentives, it could be up to 223, but still, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, when you come from, let me not assume, but there's certain players who come, like if you look at Ozzy Albies or you look at Ronald Acuna, those are bargain deals. And it's because, they come from a poor lifestyle. They come from a third world country, most of these guys who end up being stars. So why am I going to wait and risk injury to take a $300 million contract when I'm getting offered $82 million right now? That's generational wealth. That's money I've never seen ever in my life before. I can't blame him for it. I can't at all. But most likely 4 years in, probably into this contract, there's going to be some sort of issue, and he's going to demand some type of redeal, or he's going to demand a trade or something, because he is averaging out $16.5 million per year. 16.5, and this is did he win Rookie of the Year? He did not. He came third. Bro, he is gonna be a ridiculous stud. He's gonna make Tatis, who he's now looking like a glass man. So I love the talent, but he can't stay healthy at all. He's gonna make Tatis. I think he's gonna make Tatis look bad. He's gonna be the next Tatis times 2. I think, man. He was out here batting 280. He had 7 home runs. Yeah, you want that power number to go up a little bit.
The on base is really high.
His on base is 347. You can't teach that at all. He's 20 years old.
Just turned 20.
Just turned 20. So the Tampa Bay doing Tampa Bay things, man. They got the best players they can for no money, and then when I guarantee you, if they might know something and they end up trading him, and someone goes, "We got Wander Franco," and they end up robbing him, because that's what everyone thought happened with Blake Steele.
Yeah, that's what the Rays do. They know something. I don't know what analytics they look at, these people, but they know something. Everybody they trade, they could be at their prime of their peak at that time, like James said, Blake Snell. The second Blake Snell, Chris Archer, doesn't matter who it is. Once they're gone, it is over. And whoever they bring in, they become Babe Ruth. It's just what it is. It's literally it's honestly so impressive from a Yankee. Not even as a Yankee fan, just a baseball fan in general. That team literally doesn't spend money. They really don't. Wander Franco is probably their biggest signing, maybe in franchise history. I don't know the numbers, but it's got to be up there. It's
got to be up there.
Got to be. Man. They don't spend money.
Those 14 years is the only reason he definitely signed it too, because that's 6. I mean, Wander, like I said, could be out of the league in 4 years. Let's say, God forbid, something happens to him, and he's just, that's it. He's bad. He's going to make $16.5 million 10 years down the line, for doing nothing. So it's going to be great regardless. But I mean, good for him. He got money, created generational wealth, got more money than I will ever probably see in my life. So good for him, man. But you gotta be a little upset, and you gotta hope he resigns or gets traded or something, restructures his contract somewhere down the line. Because even if it ends up being $223 million, it still only averages out to. I did the math wrong, but it doesn't even matter realistically. That's going to average out to $18 million probably. So unfortunately, that was I think that was the worst contract player wise in the entire offseason. And just out of that.
I'm sorry. I just want to say Corey Seager's contract was pretty atrocious too.
It's up there. It's up there. Is that in your top 3 as well?
Yeah, it's got to be number 1, honestly. And it's not because it's not like I don't think he's bad. He's obviously, he's a very, very good player. He's clutch. He's a winning player. He's been with the Dodgers his whole life. He knows how to win. He's a lefty. He's got a big body. 325.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it makes sense to me if you're a team like the Yankees, the Mets, the Astros, one of these teams that you want to keep the core together, or you believe you're a piece or two away. The Rangers just said, actually, you know what? All right, well, I actually love Marcus.
Simeon.
But yeah, but John Gray and Corey Seager are definitely two on my three. You give John Gray like 60 million pretty much to be one of your frontline starters. Like John Gray's not that good. And
It
then
Hey man, maybe you take him out of Colorado. He was good
yeah,
in
I was thinking that.
Colorado. It was just his control was a little off. But
Who's
people
number
always
one?
say it's the thin air in Colorado makes your ball rise, and his home run
True.
prone because of that. So he could throw the rock. He could throw it hard. It's just let's see if he can freaking center it up a little bit more and have a little more control over it. I do agree that Corey Seager contract. I said it when it was signed. I get why they did it. One, sell some tickets, and two, you had to make some moves over there in the Rangers
Yeah, you
because
do. You
they
do.
got young players coming up. You want to start setting some key pieces. And
Number 2 farm system, I believe.
Corey's
So I mean, yeah,
exactly.
it's just 312. Oh
The
god.
only is to make him one of the highest paid shortstops, and not only that, but it's Corey Seager, man. He gets hurt all the
Exactly.
time. Like he's
Exactly.
really out of total time in that 10-year career. He's probably only gonna have like 7 years worth of games realistically because
I'll
he
say
gets hurt
4 really good years. Like
4 really good years.
four
Yeah, exactly.
really good years.
But what makes you feel better about it is the fact that we're able to get Marcus Simeon as well because those two signings create one of the best infields in
Up the middle. Oh
up
yeah.
the middle in baseball.
Oh yeah.
Defensively and offensively, you got two guys with speed who can steal the bag, and they both hit pretty good. Well, Corey Seager has better average. Marcus Simeon's up there. Well, this year he was hitting ridiculous average, and Marcus Simeon he hits home runs and gets the RBIs, and Corey Seager he has the on base percentage. So
Yeah.
I get why they did it. Just that I'm not a fan of it as well, especially because it's
I agree.
front-loaded contract where he's going to receive like 140 million in the first 4 years as well. That's just ridiculous in my mind.
Yeah, me too.
Let me ask you about another shortstop. This doesn't even have to deal with contracts. There's actually a guy who hasn't been signed yet. He's essentially the last superstar out there in the market, and I'm talking about Mr. Carlos Correa. Where do you think Carlos ends up, man? You liked what was his name? We were saying his first. You like Max so much. I like Carlos, bro. I'm calling him Carlos now. Where do you think Carlos ends up?
Carlos reminds me of The Hangover, actually now. But Carlos Correa, I think he resigns with Houston. I think he does a 1-2. I think he does like a 2-year deal with a player option after the first year. I think it'll be like 2 years, 70 million, 2 years, 75 million. So he'll pocket about 35 plus this year. Then he'll probably opt out, hit the market again next year as the only free agent or a big name free agent shortstop in his age 28 season. He'll be going into next season. Then he could really probably re-up. If not Houston, I honestly don't even know where he goes. I really don't. I just think it's got Houston written all over it. Once the Yankees pretty much made that trade with the Twins, yeah, that pretty much took them completely out the running. Some people say the Cubs. I don't. I see it Houston all the way. I think he goes back to Houston. They're good every year. They'll probably be ALCS again next year. So I just think that's where he ends up. What about you?
Honestly, I think he ends up in Houston too. But
Yeah.
my who knows, man? Maybe
Long term?
He's probably not. I think long term. That's the difference we have. I don't think he ends up doing that short contract. I like the idea.
5 years?
You're right though. Yeah, 5-7, somewhere
I can
more
see that.
closer to 7, I think.
I
But
can see
I do like the idea that you have where he does take that 2-year, make 35 really quick, and maybe even take the Max Scherzer contract because he is worth that contract.
Yeah, he is.
And then, like you said, go for the long contract next year because he will be the only name. That's I never even crossed my mind, man. But there won't be another All-Star. Like this was an off season that was unlike. It was you had so many shortstops. Literally, we just named two of them essentially. Corey Seager, Corey Seager, Marcus Simeon, and you still got Trevor Story out there. Javi Baez. It's a ridiculous amount. So it was literally just ended up wrong. Math just happened. So if it's not a bad idea at all, man. Honestly, maybe he does do that. Maybe that's what's tying up him signing at this point. He's
if I
trying
was
to
his
decide.
agent, I'd be advising it. I mean, I would definitely be advising it. Go back to Houston. You're comfortable there. Everything. Just go to your same house. Everything. Don't change nothing. Same routine you've been having your whole career. Go there. Do what you've been doing your whole career. Stay healthy again. I'll get you $300 million. Like that's what I'd be telling him if I was his agent. I'll get you to 325 that he got. I'll get you 340. Like straight up.
Man. No, for sure. I could totally
He's that
see
good.
that. He's
a
the
winner.
best shortstop in of all the shortstops. He's the best one, and that's why
I
he hasn't been
agree.
signed yet. He wants to keep those contracts getting up, 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 up. But man, I think the biggest mistake here was Detroit not signing him because you really
I
thought they were going to
agree,
sign
man.
him, man, and they ended up
Yeah.
going Baez. It was like. Baez is a good player. Don't get me wrong. He was on
is.
the Mets, man. But like,
He went the
I
cheap route.
personally don't like those guys who just play cold hot, and they're striking out a lot. I'm not a fan of those 3 outcome guys, and he doesn't even walk that much. So realistically, it was 2 outcomes.
He doesn't. Yeah.
So Carlos Correa is an MVP candidate almost every year, man.
AJ Hinch, the former Astros
AJ
manager,
Hinch,
it made
exactly.
so much sense, and they
It just did, and they fumbled the bag, man. Especially up and coming
did.
team too, man. I was
the
like,
farm system's really good. That's what I'm saying. You kind of thought they would have AJ Hinch's guy as the face of the franchise.
Yep.
He'd gathered the whole bunch together. That's why I'm just, and I like Javi Baez. I don't know if he's that leader. He seems a little immature. They just gave him $140 million to really
couldn't even
be the
handle
face of that franchise. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if Javi's that guy. Correa would have been perfect, but we'll see what happens with that.
I mean, maybe they're not out the running, man. Maybe Detroit comes
know.
out of nowhere, tells Baez to go second again this year, like he did last
Imagine.
year. But it didn't look like Baez liked second. But other than that, man, I don't know. I think he ends up back in Houston. I think it's a long contract, but I like that short contract idea you just had. Other than that, man, that's all we got for tonight. So much going on. We were a little choppy today just because there was information coming left and right. I'm going to come back better next week. You got anything you want to tell the fans here, Ant?
I hope St. Peter's beats Kentucky. They're down 3 right now. But other than that, thank you, Bars, for having me. Love being on the show. Follow Off the Ball podcast. Stay safe. Stay blessed. Peace, happiness, and love. That's it.
And that's the best way to wrap it up, folks. Thank you for watching. We're coming back next week. We're going to talk God knows what because just so much info is coming, but I promise you we're going to have a great show. Stay blessed. We'll see you next week.